I call to order. Is this working? Is this working? Yep. Okay. I call to order and welcome you to the Middletown, Ohio regular City Council meeting for Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. Please join me for a moment of meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. You will hear 3 taps of the gavel when it is time to stand. Please join me for a moment of meditation now. Clerk of Council, Mrs. Amy Skank, please call the attendance roll. Oh, wait, Amy's not here right now.
Where is Amy?
Okay, got you. We will take just a recess until Mrs. Skank returns. And Mrs. Skank, would you please call the attendance roll?
Mr. Lawley.
Present.
Mrs. Carter. Present. Mr. West.
Here.
Mr. Horn.
Here.
Mayor Slamka.
Here. Thank you. The first item on the agenda this evening is citizen comments. A professional presentation free of foul language is expected. This is not the time for debate, questions and answer, or any back and forth conversation. This is a time for you, our residents, to be able to present in front of council on record and uninterrupted, and to have the floor. We have received 10 comment cards this evening, and we have a total of 1 hour. I will prompt each speaker for their next steps when they reach the podium. I would like to call first Christy Durich to the podium. You may stand or sit according to your preference, and please adjust the microphone and speak directly into the microphone at all times. Before we begin, please state your full name and Middletown residence, work address, or interest in the city for the record. You will then have 4 minutes of uninterrupted speech. Please commence.
My name is Christy Durich, 1050 Central Avenue, and I am here to talk about Safety Town. The Safety Council of Southwestern Ohio has partnered with the Middletown City Police now for 47 years with this program. We just kicked it off this week. We're super excited about it. It's at Mayfield. It's a week-long program, 2 hours a day. We have 2 sessions a day. We have a couple new officers running it this year, Officer Fugit and Officer Maxwell, and they are super excited and enthusiastic. We've hired some great teens that help work it, and this is open to anyone going into kindergarten, inside Middletown, outside Middletown. They're all welcome. It's a totally free program supported by our community, and we involve the fire department comes over and teaches them about fire safety. Of course, they take a field trip to the police department. They learn stranger safety, or stranger danger, I should say. And then we've inserted gun safety. You know, what do you do if you see a gun? We talk about medicine, what's candy, and then all the usual stuff, the seat belts, the pedestrian, bus safety. Sometimes it's their first ride on a bus, so they're pretty excited. And if anyone remembers, it's seat on seat, back on back, feet on the floor, and hands in the lap. So if you have any child going into kindergarten, the spots are filling up, goes for 6 weeks throughout the summer, and I'm gonna put extra schedules upstairs on the counter. So thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Durich. I would next like to call Jamie Steele to the podium. Please, you may sit or stand according to your preference. Please adjust the microphone and speak directly into the microphone at all times. Before we begin, please state your full name and Middletown residence, work address, or interest in the city for the record. You will then have 4 minutes of uninterrupted speech. Please commence.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Jamie Steele, and I reside at 313 South Main Street. Here on tonight on behalf of many Middletown residents who believe deeply in the value of our historical downtown, not just for the past, but also for the future. Current position of the current council, the demolition of historic buildings like the Manchester Sunshine Building, First National Building, along with the Knights of Columbus, aka the Vale House, is best for Middletonians. Stands in stark contrast with the will of the public. And this isn't speculation, it's documented. February of 2022, a survey by the Middletown Historical Society showed that 92% of the respondents wanted to save the Manchester. Hundreds of passionate comments highlighted its cultural and economic significance. Most recently, in early 2025, the city's own downtown refresh initiative confirmed public support for preserving and repurposing our historic buildings. Even as March 11th, the voices in the room overwhelmingly supported preservation. City Council's direction also conflicts with their own documentation. Both the 2022 Comprehensive Plan and the 2017 Downtown Strategic Plan, which clearly instruct the city to restore and repurpose these buildings as economic and cultural anchors. We've seen success stories. Many will speak of others. Hamilton, Miamisburg, Newark. Newark, Ohio is almost the same size as us. They chose to invest in the historic district. My daughter goes to Newark. It's actually now a main campus at Ohio State, so OHIO. They invested in the downtown and have since revitalized, seen all kinds of tourism and economic growth. They didn't erase their heritage, they built on it. Middletown deserves that same opportunity. In closing, demolition is permanent, but history, once honored, can become the foundation of prosperity. Let's not trade short-term conveniences for long-term loss. Let's follow the will of the people, the guidance of our own plans, and the examples of other cities that chose wisely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to call Gabe Shane to the podium. You may stand or sit according to your preference. Please adjust the microphone and speak directly into the microphone at all times. Before we begin, please state your full name and Middletown residence, work address, or interest in the city for the record. You will then have 4 minutes of uninterrupted speech. Please commence.
Gabriel Shane, 121 South Main Street. Good evening, City Council and Mayor Slamka. At a recent City Council meeting, 4/5 of this council, everyone but Mayor Slamka, stated that you were emphatically in favor of demolishing 4 city-owned, historically designated signature downtown buildings: the Manchester Hotel, the Sunshine Building, the First National Bank Building, the Knights of Columbus Building. I've been given permission on behalf of the Historic South Main Association and the folks of Save Downtown Middletown, who are here wearing their stickers, as well as folks in the Highlands Historic District, to speak for them. This coalition of citizens and stakeholders who share the view that your position is unfounded and represents an unnecessary threat to the future of this downtown. We intend to combat that threat until it is removed. I will summarize our position for you now. Point 1, Council's position that demolition would be best for Middletonians is in stark contrast to the stated preferences of Middletonian citizens at large who wish to protect and restore them for the future use, as evidenced by the results of 3 recent community surveys and public forums. I won't repeat that. Jamie just mentioned them. Point 2, Council's position is at odds with official city planning documents co-authored by community leaders and stakeholders, which direct the city clearly and repeatedly to maintain, restore, and repurpose downtown historic buildings. Point 3, Council positions contradict multiple national and state grant foundations that consider Middletown's stock of historic buildings to be worthy of millions of dollars in future grants and threaten our certified local government or CLG status required to access these grants. Number 4, Council, their pro-demolition arguments may be grounded on language in the city's code of ordinances, but neither the city nor this council have put forth sufficient evidence to support those arguments. You do not have an official determination that these buildings are structurally unstable. You do not have substantiated your claims that rehabilitation or restoration of these buildings is economically infeasible. I have my doubts that the city did not intentionally create these conditions through neglect, but we have started a public records request campaign just to make sure. Number 5, your positions are at odds with the comparable cities in this region who have had great successes with historic downtown revitalization efforts like Dayton, Hamilton, Springfield, Lebanon, and Miamisburg. The city of Middletown has underperformed in these areas and is now telling us that the mission is impossible and not like one of those Tom Cruise missions with a 100% success rate. Judging from our neighbors, the mission is not impossible, we just haven't gotten it right yet. So, to recap, the list of things this council is at odds with: every other comparable city in the region, Middletown law, national and state grant foundations who are ready and willing to help us, business owners, community leaders, and stakeholders, and the Middletown public. Is there anyone else standing with you? The answer is yes, all of us, but only if you get back on our side. I ask you to carry out your due diligence with integrity, come back to us with fresh solutions and renewed energy to serve the public will, and in the meantime, let's not hear any more talk about demolition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Next, I would like to call Jade Smida. Forgive me for mispronouncing that if I have. And you may stand or sit according to your preference. Please do adjust the microphone before you begin speaking. Make sure you speak into the microphone at all times. Before we begin, please state your full name and Middletown residence, work address, or interest in the city for the record. You will then have 4 minutes of uninterrupted speech. Please commence.
Thank you. My name is Jade Smida, 121 South Main Street. I am here to talk about the relationship between preservation and economic development. Middletown residents like me do not support preservation solely out of a sense of sentimentality or nostalgia. I moved here in 2016. I frankly do not remember buildings like First National, the Manchester Knights of Columbus in their prime. But what I do know is that even in their current state, they are more impressive and more attractive than any new construction or vacant lot that could replace them. They are not nuisances to be destroyed, but rare assets to be maintained. They can drive economic development, and there is proof all around us. Other cities and neighborhoods have figured it out. Lebanon, Oxford, Miamisburg, the Oregon District in Dayton, Covington, Kentucky, Hamilton. People go there because they would rather spend their money in a Hallmark town than in a strip mall. We see it every year with the Wine and Chocolate Walk here in our downtown, and that's just one example. And we have the bones of a perennial Hallmark town, yet we are considering amputating them with no cause. Reasons cited by certain council members and city staff have yet to be substantiated. I mentioned Hamilton a moment ago. There is perhaps no other city in the world that shares more in common with Middletown than Hamilton. We are not identical, but we are cut from the same cloth. And look at them. People are showing up, attending concerts, eating at their restaurants, shopping in historic buildings that have been repurposed. And now US News and World Report has listed Hamilton as the number 4 place in Ohio to live. Probably something they thought was impossible in the not too distant past, but it is possible. What have we done to research Hamilton's success? Has city staff requested a meeting with Hamilton leaders, reached out to investors and developers responsible for Hamilton's makeover? And Hamilton's not the only one. There are others that we could reach out to, but have we? Until Middletown citizens are confident that the city has done its due diligence, demolition is premature and unforgivable. And let's not forget that demolition is also expensive. In conclusion, please slow down. Please spend the money to maintain these buildings until real decisions can be made. Please show us your work. Destroying rare assets that could be the key to economic development is not progress or a refresh. It is self-sabotage. Thank you.
Thank you. I would next like to call Mary Johnson to the podium. You may stand or sit according to your preference. Please adjust the microphone and speak directly into the microphone at all times. Before we begin, please state your full name and Middletown residence for the record. You will then have 4 minutes of uninterrupted speech. Please commence.
Thank you. Mary Johnson, 6700 Locust Lane. I am a 35-year resident of Middletown, and I'm also the chair of the board of directors for Downtown Middletown, Inc. I think as we presented to you last December, Downtown Middletown, Inc. is a 501c3. Our mission is downtown revitalization and historic preservation. So we are part of Heritage Ohio, which is part of Main Street America, which has been established by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And so many of the previous speakers have so eloquently spoken on the value of historic buildings and refurbishing, saving those buildings as an economic driver. When you go to Liberty Township, you go to Westchester, do you hang around, do you explore? No. You go in, you go out. Downtown Middletown is the heart of Middletown, and it's someplace to explore. And you get a sense of space, a sense of community, you know the small business owners. That's not an experience that you get in Westchester or Liberty Township. You're in, you're out, and you don't know who you're speaking with or working with. So that we, as of previous speakers have said, have something unique. In fact, every time, and I volunteer like, God, a lot of hours downtown. Every time I go downtown, I think, I love this place. Triple Moon, I just spoke to Heather. We just had a ribbon cutting at the PAC. That is what makes our community. It's the people working really hard to bring Middletown back. And, you know, I thought that phrase that the previous speaker just said is absolutely correct. We can't amputate our historic buildings. Look at those buildings. In fact, I was just inside 2 of those buildings with Heritage Ohio person who's an expert in historic preservation, with a professor, I forget what university, is also an expert in historic preservation. The Knights of Columbus building, or house, the Vale House, it's gorgeous inside. There's a little tiny leak in the roof. Why on earth would you knock that down? Because there's a little tiny leak in the roof. The bank building, that's another issue, but don't forget, 2 years ago, it was habitable, right? It was in use 2 years ago with Cincinnati State. Again, roof issue. So it's something I think, you know, saving what we have now, but also too, I understand that those buildings were gifted to the city. So to save our historic assets and preserve them, we should set up a fund. So if someone donates a building, we can stabilize it. It's usually fixing the roof, which is a big deal, but it prevents all the other problems like the ones that we saw over at the bank building. You know, clean it up. In fact, that's none of the historic people that we're doing these tours with said, hey, tear this down. They're like, no, these are amazing. Fix the roof, clean them up, you know, put in a working elevator where you need it, and this could be a driver of economic development. So I really want to thank you guys for your consideration. I want to thank you for your service. It's not an easy job. You know, the rest of us aren't doing your jobs, but thank you for giving your time to our community. And again, please take a moment, think about this, do the right studies. We should have some recommendations from that visit with the historic preservation experts that we can share with you. But again, you tear that down, you'll never build anything as nice as what those buildings are, particularly from the outside, right? Those are really well-built buildings. You can't really replace them for the cost it's going to take to at least stabilize them. And it is a driver for downtown. So thank you all.
Thank you. I would now like to call Sue Whitman to the podium. You may stand or sit according to your preference, and please do adjust the microphone and speak directly into it at all times. Before we begin, please state your full name and Middletown residence for the record. You will then have 4 minutes of uninterrupted speech. Please commence.
My name is Sue Whitman, and I'm here on behalf of the Arts Central Foundation for North Main Street. Thank you, Mayor Slamka, City Council, and City staff for allowing me to speak tonight. Tonight, my comments will be brief. I want to express my gratitude that the city has publicly acknowledged during the last City Council meeting the deteriorating state of the property owned by the city at 2 North Main is negatively impacting Art Central Foundation's building at 4 North Main. We look forward to working with you on solutions to protect these structures. Thank you.
Thank you. I would next like to call Adam Snotty. Thank you. You may stand or sit according to your preference. Please do adjust the microphone and speak directly into the microphone at all times. Please, before we begin, state your full name for the full name and Middletown residence, work address, or interest in the city for the record. You will then have 4 minutes of uninterrupted speech. Please commence.
Thank you. So my name is Adam Snotty. I will be the principal at the new aviation center that Butler Tech is constructing at the Middletown Regional Airport that will open in early 2026. And my purpose tonight is to introduce myself to all of you and to do a couple other things very briefly. Number one, I'd like to thank all of you in the city of Middletown collectively for your support and contributions toward that project already. That have already occurred, and for what I anticipate we will continue to do together moving forward as that building opens early next year. Our goals at Butler Tech with the Aviation Center are specifically 2 in particular. One, we anticipate increasing the number of open seats that we will be able to take for new students every year significantly. Our aviation program for the past several years has had roughly 50 students in it every year. This year it expanded closer to 75. Next year will be closer to 100. And over the next 2 to 3 years, we anticipate getting between 150 and 200 as the new building opens. But our second goal is not just to expand for student access, but to generate a far more highly skilled workforce in this city and in this area, and to help spur economic development for Middletown and for Butler County and Southwest Ohio at large. So the one thing that I would specifically say is this: coming into this facility new as the building principal, I need your help. And I need your help in 2 specific ways. Number one, anything that you can do and other residents of the city of Middletown can do to help raise awareness of the aviation center. Clearly it's been in headlines and it's been a well-documented project in recent past, but moving forward to help everyone understand that we don't intend to be there on a temporary basis. We intend to establish a long-term foothold in the city of Middletown there at the regional airport that we believe can pay great dividends both for Middletown and for surrounding communities. The other thing that I would ask for your help on is to help me connecting with any individuals, groups, or other organizations that you believe would be vital for collaborating to help develop new student opportunities and to produce additional civic or community benefits for the area. So I appreciate your time this evening, and I appreciate all the support that you've given us so far, and we look forward to seeing all of you at some point in that new building once it opens early in 2026. I will make sure to follow up with all of you so you have my contact info and any thoughts or ideas that you might have for what that building can do, not just for students, but for everyone more broadly. I am certainly open to listening to and see what we might be able to do together. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to invite Ms. Marva Gaston to the podium. You may stand or sit according to your preference. Please do adjust the microphone and speak directly into the microphone at all times. Before we begin, please state your full name for the and residence for the record. You will have 4 minutes of uninterrupted speech. Please commence.
My name is Marva Gaston. I reside at 913 6th Avenue here in Middletown. I'm a retired disabled veteran and community ambassador with Middletown Connect and advocate for right. Again, I'm writing to express my deep concern regarding the debris left behind from the demolition of the paper factory previously located on Verity Parkway. The last meeting, I left with more hope of coming to some type of resolution as council reassuring comments that led me to believe that I would be contacted and discussion would occur that would lead to consensual decision being made that would satisfy us both towards finding a swift resolution to this issue. As we all agree, this is a critical concern. Tom Mignery spoke on the condition of the material, confirming the testing had been performed and stated it well within state guidelines, addressing many concerns, my concern of contamination in the material. Upon receiving a copy of the report of testing done by Burgess and Nipple, I was disheartened to find that was only partially true. According to their findings, their professional opinion, the material is safe for subsurface utility backfill and fill material for commercial industrial land use, but not recommended for residential land use. Having asked for transparency, accountability, and action, I was disappointed these findings had not been disclosed. Holding vital use information is not full disclosure to the community. 2 days after the last meeting, I was approached by WCPO News and asked to do an interview as they saw the recording of the meeting and came to my house. I agreed, and boy, am I glad I did. Knowing that this issue is not just about me, but the community and the residents need to know what is going on. I would rather us try to find resolutions collectively than to have you grasping at straws and we continue to bump heads. On yesterday, having not heard from the city in this matter, I stepped outside to hear activity on the site. A bulldozer was leveling the site. Though I was frustrated that I had not heard from anyone, I quickly became concerned when I was seconds from recording a landslide that would have buried the bulldozer, but luckily the dozer had already passed that point, which is the picture that I provided before and after. And as much as I want this material removed, I want it done safely. What I witnessed could have been a disaster. Now that school is out, I feel the need for more barbed wire to help secure the site. It currently has 2 small rows of barbed wire that I could see inquisitive children trying to maneuver in an attempt to scale the fence and climb the fence and scale the mound. I do not feel that leveling is the answer. It will open up for more debris to be circulated throughout the community. After reading the findings of your testing, it seems immediate removal is the only viable answer. I understand that the city wants to use some of the material for future projects, but not at the cost of making residents sick, storing it at its current location. It has been questioned as to why the city doesn't sell some of the material to surrounding cities that may be in need as well. At least you would be getting paid funds instead of just spending funds, instead of just spending funds to remove the material. Having attended previous meetings and hearing talk of funds to be spent for demolition of buildings that have sat for decades unattended in fear of someone getting hurt, that have made a conscious decision to place their lives in danger, I would rather see the lives of innocent residents protected from the harmful effects of the material that is permeating our neighborhood. First, we are not breaking any rules and simply want to live our lives in a safe environment.
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to call John Hayda to the podium, please. You may stand or sit according to your preference. Please adjust the microphone and speak directly into the microphone at all times. Before we begin, please state your full name and Middletown residence or work address for the record. You will then have 4 minutes of uninterrupted speech. Please commence.
Dr. John Hayda, 16 Alameda Circle in the Highlands Historic District. Good evening, Council. At the Downtown Refresh Town Hall meeting on March 11th, Lisha Moreland, Director of Community and Economic Development, began the session with this, quote, "We've had a ton of time to work on the downtown and we've not had a very good track record. Let's just be honest," unquote. Speaking to this record, Lisha pointed out that the city has consolidated her department so that it is now called Community and Economic Development. She added that the city is now able to provide that sort of more cohesive effort in how we are redeveloping our city. That effort brings us to community engagement. We're asking you your thoughts. It matters. It's encouraging that the Community and Economic Development Director can acknowledge that work on the downtown has been subpar, and that in combining departments, the city is recognizing this, along with trying something different, a more cohesive approach in redeveloping the downtown. What I'm not understanding is why word of this new approach hasn't reached our city council. If community engagement and the public's thoughts matter more now, why is it that at the May 6th meeting's deliberations over the city manager's city-owned downtown building report, there was next to nothing said about an engaged community playing a role in deciding what's to happen with these buildings? Instead, we heard only of the urgency of getting the Manchester torn down before someone gets hurt or sued. For those on council eager to bring down these buildings, I ask, do we really want more empty lots in a downtown already overloaded with empty spaces? An obvious example of how new empty lots would further disfigure the downtown is the prospect of an empty lot replacing the First Financial Bank building at the corner of Main and Central. I mean, you've got to be kidding. If there is a main corner in this city, this would be it. So there's that. And then there's the small matter of its being a fine-looking building and 7 stories high as well. Just how many 7-story buildings can we afford to lose? Not any. And also, it's a part of our skyline. We are actually, for a city of 50,000, owning a pretty nice skyline. I served for over a decade as secretary for the Arts Central Foundation and remember well that time some years ago when the city swooped in to take over ownership of the First Financial Bank building at the last moment, at a time when we were on the verge of being, at a time when it was on the verge of being sold to the Arts Central Foundation. We were told that only the city would know what to do with the building and that we should step aside. Sadly, we're seeing now that the city hasn't known what to do with it and hasn't even kept up with the maintenance, triggering the current crisis. I go back to my mention of our downtown refresh effort. If this effort is about anything, it's about placemaking. Organizers of this community-led effort have said as much. But how can we focus on placemaking and help the city pursue a revitalized downtown plan when our own city council acts like place obliterating is the only option? That's the question I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our last citizen comment this evening, I'd like to invite Ms. Cinder Lee to the podium. Ms. Cinder Lee. You may stand or sit according to your preference. Please do adjust the microphone and speak directly into the microphone at all times. Before we begin, thank you. Is this one item? Correct. Okay. Before we begin, please state your full name and work address or residence for the record. You will then have 4 minutes of uninterrupted speech. Please commence.
Thank you. My name is Cinder Lee. I live at 515 Career Road in Middletown. Thank you for the opportunity to advocate on behalf of the Smith Park Cat Colony. Thank you, Council, for hearing me again. Volunteer caregivers manage these cats via TNRM. I don't know why I have trouble saying that. Trap, neuter, release, manage. TNRM is a more comprehensive version of TNR. Trap, neuter, return, which includes trapping, spaying, and neutering, and returning the cats to their original location, which is various locations. In a TNRM program, community cats are humanely trapped, spayed, or neutered, vaccinated, and treated for any illness or injury. Cats are then returned to their colony, and caregivers provide them with food, water, and shelter, and they monitor them for well-being. They also identify and quickly trap any new intact cats. TNRM stabilizes cat colonies, improves and protects cats' lives, and is scientifically proven to be the most effective method to combat community cat problem. We have been told by this council that the number of people in favor of Smith Park Cat Colony being removed is equal to the number of people who want the colony to be protected. I respectfully request any data that supports that claim. I do not doubt that there are citizens in favor of removing the cat colony at Smith Park. I'm just simply curious about that number. Regarding critics of Smith Park Cat Colony, I wonder if they are aware of the work that has been done and that we would like to continue to do to keep the cat population controlled and healthy. Perhaps opinions, population control and healthy, I don't know where I got lost. Perhaps opinions would change if we arm them with the knowledge that the cats are being managed. They will no longer reproduce and the population will stabilize and begin to decline. We advocates would welcome the opportunity to meet with anyone opposed to the TNRM program having an open dialogue with neighbors, providing them with the opportunity to voice their concerns while allowing us the chance to address them, can make a huge difference to both sides of this debate. In several TNRM studies, a key takeaway for those living near cat colonies is that their sense of relief that something is being done. Many were not even aware of these proactive programs, and once they understood the immediate and long-term benefits, they were satisfied and supportive. TNRM is the most successful way to control cat colonies, seconded by the less comprehensive TNR programs. On the other hand, data from multiple studies shows that all other approaches to feral cats have proven to be fruitless, and some so-called solutions are inhumane. Relocating cats to a new area, as we've been directed to do with the colony at Smith Parks, fail because of the scientifically documented phenomenon known as the vacuum effect. In basic terms, whenever cats are removed, they will make every effort to return while new cats move in and breed to capacity. For over a century, catch and kill has been used in animal shelters in the United States, where on average 1.4 million cats are killed per year. Clearly, if catch and kill worked to eliminate cat colonies, then I would not be standing here to discuss Middletown's community cats. Adoption is also not the answer. Sometimes a cat that has lived outside its entire life can befriend its caregiver and make a slow transition to living indoors. But it is not the norm, and it is a time-consuming project with very low success rate. The problem of feral cat colonies is a reflection of human choices and actions. Animal rescue groups and community volunteers, the very people trying to reverse this man-made problem, are targeted by critics. Ultimately, if we are allowed to leave the colony at Smith Park, the city of Middletown will be a leader in the humane handling of cat colonies through TNRM. That's me again. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public participation. The next agenda item is council comments. We will begin to my left with Councilmember Lally, followed by Councilmember Carter, and then to my right with Councilmember West, followed by Councilmember Horn, and I will speak last. Mr. Lally?
Thank you, Mayor Slamka. First of all, I want to give a shout out and say thank you to the organizers of the Memorial Day Parade, Mark White and his team. The parade was fantastic. And that was probably one of the more crowded parades I've seen in a while. So there is a lot of Middletonians and others in attendance, so thank you to the community. Secondly, and I apologize, I missed your name, to the principal of the Butler Tech Aviation School. Maybe here sometime in a future city council meeting in the next month or so, you can come in the city manager's report and do a 10, 15-minute presentation on what the Butler Tech Aviation School will offer and what they can do. So I'm sure the city manager will follow up with you. And I think that will be a first step in addressing your two requests. So next, I want to address those who came out in support of the Manchester building and the downtown. Thank you for coming out and voicing your opinions and your heartfelt desire of what the city and what the community can do. I do want to make a little bit of a correction, and that's 4/5 of this council did not request the buildings to be torn down. I did not. What I did do was said this has been a little bit of a history of why we have people saying it needs to come down. And I apologize if you misconstrued what I was saying in what I felt we need to do. I did say there was financial challenges, and there were some other challenges in why we were saying the buildings may need to come down. However, if you go back and you watch, I did say that what we need to do is for the community to come together between now and August with the Downtown Refresh Committee that has been formed, people like you guys did tonight coming to this council and coming up with ideas and ways of how we can save these buildings in the downtown. A lot of the cities you mentioned that saved buildings, they also, because we did talk to a lot of other cities, they did have to demolish some of the historic buildings. And in fact, we have discussed with the leaders of Hamilton and their project. And in fact, the lead developer and architect of a lot of the Hamilton reconstruction, is working with us now on the downtown plan. So I can assure you that we have done things in the directions to try to save what we can downtown. But like I said, we need to figure this out and make a decision. My suggestion at the last council meeting was let's decide what we're doing. And I gave, let's have a special council meeting on a Saturday in August and make a decision on what we're doing, one way or the other. I have not totally made a decision. I understand the challenges that we face and maybe lean towards a little bit. I'm worried that we can't save them. But if someone brings a viable way to do it, because I think our main challenge is going to be the financial resources to save the buildings. But if we can figure it out, I think, and somebody comes with the way we can do that, then that's great. And hopefully we can get this figured out by August. But my point was we need to make a decision one way or the other and move forward. Additionally, we did bring other groups in to take a look at it. One group studied it for well over a year, and they walked away. So it's a challenge, but it's not due to lack of effort of trying to figure out what we can do to save those historic buildings. Because if we can, that's great. But I think it's time, as I said, we take the summer to figure this out, and by the end of summer, we make a decision. So one way or the other. We have to do that to move forward. I hope it's in the direction that a lot of you want to go, but we'll see. That's at the end of the day, I guess that's the democratic process. The next thing I want to discuss is the situation with the Paperboard site. I want to thank Mrs. Gaston for her continued vigilance on the situation of the Paperboard site, and I want to assure you that all of your concerns are being addressed, and we are working as diligently as possible to continue to properly abate the Paperboard demolition site. Now, I can say the part you saw about the residential thing, what that simply meant is that has passed its EPA thing for things that can be built on it. That's where the residential thing comes in. You won't be able to build residential sites on it. Not that the residents around it are at risk. It will eventually get the passage of something like commercial, light industrial, but residential will never be able to go on that site because it won't meet the EPA standards to do stuff. And essentially by that we mean taking into account all of the health and safety factors that go into taking down a 100-plus-year-old building. These types of problems are not done haphazardly, but they are well planned out several months, if not years, to assure that it is done properly and with the health and safety of the surrounding community in mind. After countless hours and meetings with Burgess and Nyepel, I'm very confident that these plans were followed during the entire demolition process and continue to be followed during the mitigation phase of the project. I fully understand your concerns and your frustrations. However, what I'm asking is we have to be a little bit more patient while a little while longer so the project can be completed safely and with health and wellness of the community in mind. Fortunately, when the project comes to fruition and it's completed, we are going to see a great future in this part of town, on this site. Possibly a grocery store, possibly laundromat, some of the things that it's been identified that this part of town needs, and that's a great thing. And we have to do this diligently to improve the quality of life for our residents in that area. We went through this with many projects in Middletown, and the benefits far outweigh the risk. Look at our schools. I was frustrated during the construction process of Middletown High School in my neighborhood because, yes, we had the dust. We had students parking on the streets. I couldn't even park my car on my street because we had a year of the students being displaced into the neighborhoods. But you know what? It was an inconvenience, but look what beautiful results transpired. Look at our schools. The new schools are beautiful. They're fantastic. They're amazing if you go in there. So it's inconvenience, but I agree with you. We have to make sure we continue to do it safely, and so the health of our residents are taken care of. So all I'm saying is I understand your frustrations, but please let us get this project completed properly and not force incomplete due diligence so we all can reap the benefits of a better Middletown. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Lally. Mrs. Carter.
I agree with Councilman Lally regarding the hotel and the bank building, that this is something that we need to think about before we make any decisions. I was born and raised in Middletown, so I remember the Manchester Hotel, and I remember going into the First National Bank, but at this point, it's something that we need to do as a community. I'm also concerned about the pile of dust that's affecting those that live in the area. I don't see that hill as an inconvenience. I see it as a health issue. And why not move it? Just move the bundle somewhere else. Just move it somewhere else, out of the neighborhood where we have children, we have people. Put it somewhere. We have many open and empty fields, and I believe the city could move it to a different area. We don't have to have it where we're breathing that air. We have a after-school program right up the street from it. So I think, how long would we let something like that sit in any other neighborhood in Middletown, other than where it's sitting right now? So move it. I don't think that's a big deal, a big issue. I think we can move it during the weekend. Everyone that lives in Middletown has pride about Middletown. So what we should do is move it, plain and simple. I'm all for restoring, but I also know that you need money to do that, just like we need money to tear it down. So we need to get our heads together and decide what we're going to do before someone has suffered or will suffer from the bricks falling, people inside the building. Like the lady said, she went inside the building. Thank God they made it out. Mayor?
Thank you, Mrs. Carter. Mr. West?
Thank you, Mayor. I won't have as many words as Mr. Lally did, but couple things tonight. Ms. Gaston, thank you for coming again. And like I said in the last council meeting, you know, even though this may have passed various EPA inspections, my concern are very similar to yours. I mean, windy day, you don't know what's coming off that pile. It's getting on your, you know, your vehicles, your house, you know, kids playing outside, you know, in your garden, whatever. I mean, I was kind of shocked when I first saw that picture. It looked like Colorado or out west, whatever I had said, but WCPO picked it up. So thanks, Sean. But, you know, the other concern I have is with the children being out of school. Like you said, I mean, I know when I was a kid, if that was in my neighborhood, you know, we'd be like, let's carry our bikes to the top, you know. So I completely agree. So I don't know the latest timetable. Maybe Ms. Combs, you know, like the timetable on when it's going to be not as mountainous.
I know that Scott could probably provide an update on that.
Okay.
Him and Lisha Moreland have been working with Burgess and Nyepel on that. Okay.
Thank you. Next topic, Manchester and all the historic buildings. So I've never said that I'm pro demolition. So the frustrating thing with living in Middletown, I've been here about 20 years. And of course, 20 years ago, you look at how Hamilton was, or really a lot of Midwestern towns that are very similar to Middletown. You know, back then, all of their downtowns were predominantly vacant. Middletown especially, you know, with us having a highway exit, a lot of things just naturally gravitated that way. Route 4 did not pan out like a lot of us thought it would have 20 years ago. They just decided to build 30,000 homes up and down Route 4, and I think 3 Krogers. So that didn't help. So when I first came on council, there was an organization that was under contract, and they were taking a look at all of the downtown buildings. Well, the ones that we had listed, not all of them, but and they're very reputable. They had a lot of successful, challenging, historic rehabs, sort of all over, not just in our area, but all over Louisville, Kentucky. They did the Louisville Slugger Museum. So, you know, occasionally we receive some kind of updates. Everybody will first, you know, stand up and say, hey, there's historic tax credits, there's this and that. There are. This organization, at length, it was well over a year, they studied it, they looked at options. Some of their options were indeed to tear down some of these buildings. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. That was concerning to me back then because I kind of saw where they were headed with it, right? So for example, let's just say if some of their plans could have had a completely new downtown district, central business district. That was concerning for me because there were some of the buildings were gone in those plans. But additionally, it would have detracted from existing storefronts on Central. But it also kind of showed their logic, what they were deeming as feasible with what they saw economically. Like Councilman Lally said, they just decided to walk away. So we're back at square one. It's concerning in a lot of ways because this is what they do. This is what they do. So I think the one thing that people can be critical for when it comes to this topic, specific with this council, is that we're willing to say enough is enough. Let's really make a decision on this. I think the last time I was in the Manchester was probably 2007-ish. The year my daughter was born, and now she's going off to college in the fall. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. I feel like the can's been kicked down the curb long enough. Like, we have to take this seriously. If we want downtown to be something, we need to put it out there and say, look, we're going to make a decision in the future. The Manchester, my personal concerns with it are similar to what media has reported, what's been discussed in council meetings. We've had some homeless camps get in there, start some fires. There are some bricks that have fallen off. So if something becomes a liability, you have to kind of take it seriously, and that, I think, is what the urgency is for me personally, but I think for the rest of the council. Not saying that it's impossible. I don't think downtown as a whole is impossible, let alone these buildings. The bank tower, just the other day I was in Roanoke, Virginia, and it was pretty similar to our downtown. Their downtown's a little bit bigger, but it's all historic, right? It's all historic buildings. They have a pretty cool train station. Amtrak runs right through there. But I stayed in a historic bank building called the Liberty Trust, and it's one of the banks that was built 100-something years ago, right? So you walk in and they have the vault, and they've turned that into the check-in and the bar, and then they have rooms upstairs, and it's really, really cool. That building was, so I started researching it. I'm like, man, this is sweet, like it's way better than some of the other places. And I think part of it, it's a double-edged sword now because things are way more expensive than they were 10 years ago. So I kind of look at it, and it's not, I'm not bashing any previous council, but I think some folks in the history have just said, hey, you know what, we're not going to touch that subject because it's very, very scandalous, right? I'm willing to touch the subject because I want to address it, and I want to say, hey, look, if there's an organization out there, we need to find them now. We need to partner with them now. When it comes to Hamilton, some people in town will kill me for saying this, but I adore Hamilton because they made the change pretty quickly over about 10 to 13 years. So the city council the city manager who was in charge of Hamilton at that time, I've met with him many times. He's now in charge of the Butler County Finance Authority, so it's sort of like the Butler County Land Bank in a sense, and we're partnering with him. I've had many conversations with him, like, how did you guys do this? And it's very complex, but it is doable. Now, where it gets a little bit tricky is the private dollars that it takes on top of the tax credits and all of these things. We can't expect the city of Middletown to finance $40 or $50 million. It's not 100% feasible for where we are financially. We kind of stretched ourselves to say, hey, look, let's add some staffing in public safety, which was needed, and it's still needed. The leap of faith that we took was the town mall. Everybody will point at the town mall and say, well, you guys dropped $10 million on the town mall. We had to. That place was about to be a flea market. It was about to be a flea market, okay? I don't know if anybody else sitting up here will be as open, as honest as me, but you put a flea market in there and you can kiss everything else goodbye in that corridor. So, and we have a lot of good responses on that RFQ. The town mall will be something. That's going to help generate revenue. When it comes to downtown, we all want downtown to prosper. The frustrating thing for me about downtown is we continue to have, and it's not many, but we continue to have some individuals that do not live in Middletown. They live in surrounding communities who come here and they prey on our buildings. They buy them intentionally to keep them vacant, intentionally to write them off on their tax portfolio. I'm just going to say it. I've had these conversations with city staff. I've had these conversations with many people on council. It's predatory in this town. That's a problem. As much as we open up and we come out as a community whenever somebody says the buzzwords like Manchester or the First National Bank building, we should be doing the same thing with a lot of these other properties downtown. There's no reason why Central Avenue shouldn't be filled with storefronts, thriving storefronts. There's no reason why we can't set up some sort of incentive for these building owners, these responsible building owners, to say, hey, look, the one thing that's missing downtown is residential. You got to have people live down there. And one of the things that myself and a former council member have looked at numerous times, there's been a little bit of it in Hamilton. Hamilton, it happened a little bit more organically because they have a lot more people that work in their downtown, obviously. But one of the things is, how do we incentivize some of those property owners to turn their second, third, fourth stories into apartments? I think that's a key thing as well. We have to have more people living down there. That's what's transpired. I continue to work with Hamilton leaders. One of their latest projects is affordable housing. So I've spoken to one of their council members on that, two of them, their vice mayor and another, council member. But I think for the one thing that we need to do as a community is we need to say, hey, look, we need to come up with a decision on downtown. We need to either take it seriously or we need to demolish. Demolishing is permanent. And Jade, I'm sorry I didn't get your last name, but my mindset is very similar to yours. And demolishing is permanent, and that right there could be something that could have a big detriment to the community. The other thing too, though, is, for example, the Swallens lot. The Swallens lot is a shovel-ready site downtown. That should be very, very attractive to a developer to come in to build something there. Shovel-ready lots usually in a downtown of a city that's about 50,000 people, that should be very, very attractive, and I don't understand why it's not. So would it be helpful if Manchester was a shovel-ready site? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure, because if that site were, why isn't the Swallens lot? So there's a lot of things that go on. I do speak to surrounding communities that have followed this blueprint, but when we've partnered with multiple organizations that continue to do these historic rehabilitations and they just walk away, it's unsettling. So now my mindset is, let's find somebody now. Let's figure out what it is. A lot of those organizations, they will go after the tax credits, all of those things, and they usually will approach that city and say, okay, here's the dollar amount. Here's our gap. That's what I was expecting from the last organization. I was expecting them to come present and say, okay, here's our magic number, right? And then as a city, we decide, okay, is that number, quote unquote, worth it? Is that number reasonable? Is it feasible? Can the city support that type of financing? So, Mayor, that's about all I had. I guess I did have as many words as Paul, so.
Thank you, Mr. West. Mr. Horn.
I get to follow all that. First of all, I always say this. I'd like having a full gallery and hearing people's pitch, pace, and power, because emails are great and strongly worded letters are also great, but to see your faces and seeing your concerns. And I'm going to say, I took a lot of notes, so I'm really looking forward to our August meeting. But I'll give you some assignments, or if you want them, if you don't care. When you're doing your discovery, a statement was made that we have not done any inspection. That's false. We did an inspection of the KFC, Knights of Columbus, the Manchester, and the Sunny building. And that was by our building official, who is a representative from the Ohio Industrial Committee, which is the building department of the state of Ohio. So that report is accurate, and at that time, that was over a year plus ago, we were told that the roofs were in bad shape, and all the mechanicals were, as my favorite phrase was, has outlived the manufactured recommended lifespan, meaning all the mechanicals have to be redone in those three buildings. I'm not even talking about the 7-story building. Now, another thing, I love old buildings. If you've ever been to Music Hall, Cincinnati, if you've ever been to an older home, like the Sorg, like homes on Main Street, those are over 100-year homes. And my home actually just turned 100 years old. I'm on Central. Main thing about those is they have to be maintained. And you have to have people who are willing to put in the sweat equity or the money. It's either or. And with the Manchester, it being over 100 years old, it was built at that time for the codes that applied. The building codes, the electrical codes, the plumbing codes, any codes. But I'm missing some codes. They didn't have ADA then. They didn't have energy codes then. So I actually had a person from the Historical Commission, me and him had a nice conversation, and he was very passionate about the Manchester. And I told him very clearly, what you need is a historical grant for about $30 million. Now, did I just make that number up? No, I'm doing that with 40 years of experience in construction. And when you have to do a renovation, we always have that uh-oh moment. When you open up a wall and you think it's load-bearing and it's about to collapse, and now you have to rebuild that. Or you have acres of roof to replace instead of just square feet. So I would challenge everyone, when you come to the August meeting, to do your due diligence, get your public record, get everything that you have to understand what the dilemma we're in. And I like the comment about our skyline that we have in Middletown. We have 3 buildings. 2 are privately owned, 1 is owned by us. And they're empty as can be, and have been for quite some time. The Cincinnati State experiment was pathetic. So that's the thing. We can only do so much. We have to have people being able to do the work or find the financing. We can find the developers, and as my colleagues have said, we had people come in and say, we can do this development in these 3 sites, no problem. We said, okay, what happens when we want to renovate? And they're like, the phone went dead, and then they came back and said, we just can't get a number. Because at times when you let things go away, and I can say that I was in the Manchester probably right before it closed because I was doing Edgewood High School, and we had a meeting there, and I think it's around 2010. Had a lunch there, but the thing is, it was empty. Gone are the days of when we had, I'll show how, I've been here for 55 years. When Armco was here, when the executives were here, when the Armco wives were here, and that the Manchester was rocking. The dining hall was full, and the place where you had the swing bands, which I love that when we had that in the 90s, it was wonderful. People were coming downtown. And one thing that we did was the previous council, and I know it's not sexy, but we knocked down a perfectly good 5-tier parking garage. What is the complaint of every one of our events that when they come here, and we have events, people who really want to do them, parking. And the claim was, well, it costs $1 million to maintain it every year. And they tore it down with the Swallens. But I actually had pictures of the parking garage before the Swallens was there. So it wasn't attached to Swallens. So sometimes we got to think a little bit of what are we trying to really accomplish? Because to build downtown, you have to have things to do down there or people to live there, but you also have places for people to park. And I just want everyone to, like I said, I really do appreciate this. I appreciate when people come here and are very passionate, but I want you to come in August for our town hall and have more information. Do that due diligence. And we will listen to no end. But we do have to make a decision because it's getting worse. What I don't want to happen, and this is why I said what I said, and I'm not backing off on what I said. I do not want a first responder getting hurt. They want to come in, do their shift, and go home. And I don't want them to fall through trying to save someone who is not supposed to be there and fall through and injure themselves, or have our chiefs have to do the ultimate and have to call that person's husband, girlfriend, partner, or parent and say, I'm sorry. They were doing their job. But we have a fence around it. We have a plan. I'm just hoping that no more of those tiles slide off and potentially hurt anyone. I don't want anyone to get hurt. That's my biggest thing. And the thing is one of the statements, and I know I said I wouldn't go in this right now, but I'm going to. We had a 2022 Save the Manchester. That was 3 years ago. Nothing? Okay. Where's the funding? Where's the group that said, okay, we're going to do this work. We got this investor. We got this people who've done this forever. I talked to Joshua Smith, who Steve's talking about. When I asked him how he did their historical, it took them 5 years to get their historical grant. So we're already 5 years behind. So we have to make a decision, and hopefully someone can say, yep, I've got a connection up in Columbus. We can slingshot this through, and we can get the money. But when you let things go, and the building that and it's privately owned, but the building that really hurt my feelings was the Carnegie Library. It was. I love that library, and when we moved to the modern library in 1985, it just hurt because it had marble, it had the winding stairs, and it just was a library. And then what we have now is a library, but that one really hurt. And since 1985, it just sits there and rots. And we have a person who buys it and sells it and buys and sells it. Right now, you could drive my van through the hole in the roof. So let's be real about what we're really passionate about. If we're really passionate about saving Middletown, then do it. And we will work with you, and we will do everything we can to save Middletown. Now, the last group that I want to talk about, though, is I know there's a group, and there's a building that is very historical. It's 150 years old. It's called the Sorg. They always need help, and they also need financial help. So I would encourage you to put that on your list, too, of people you want to help. Because we all enjoy Sorg. We all have Sorg stories, whether it be at the Colonial, watching movies there, or seeing operas there, or just seeing shows currently, like they're having one tonight. But that is a historical building that we have to keep. That is the fabric of Middletown. So while we're being concerned about everything else, remember the Sorg. Next thing I want to talk about is the Middletown Arts Center. And they're having on this Friday, they're actually having 2 exhibits. One, the annual MAC student show, so we have some students who are going to be showing some artwork. And then the Chuck Marshall oil paintings will be in the lobby. And then the other one is on June 13th and June 14th, and it's called In the Garden. Sorry if I stole that from you, Mayor. But I like the arts. I'm really glad that we were able to help them. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is it's getting warmer again, and I know last year no one liked it, but the code enforcement folks are going to start going back out into the neighborhoods, and this is the reason why they do that. Not just to tell you that your grass is high, because you have to cut your grass between raindrops, but just so we are trying to keep all of Middletown beautiful, along with the historicals and everything. And I always like to tell a story about myself, because then it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. So in 2010, at my house, I received a nice letter from the city of Middletown, and it informed me that I was not in compliance with their code book, and they have a code book that they go by. And I have, again, older home, and I had wood windows and a wood soffit. I'll admit it, I let it go as far as I could before I had to paint. So they just said, if you would, scrape and paint or replace. So I've never had this done before, so I went downtown, talked to Tom, and they did their jobs perfectly. But the one question I asked him was, can you help me? He's like, no. And after that, it was like, I'm just looking for one answer, yes or no. So I said, yes, I'm going to get this fixed, and they worked with me, and they gave me a timeline. Now, that cost me $18,000 because I didn't want to scrape and paint old wood windows that were leaking air and noise. I'm tickled about it, even brought my little champion thing to show that anyone wants to ask. I paid more because I wanted gutters. But that's what I mean, is at times you have to put in either the sweat equity or you have to put in the funding to keep Middletown beautiful. If that's just your little postage stamp of grass in your home, that's your job also. So I would just encourage people, if you do get a note from or a letter from the city, they're not doing it by making it up. There's an actual book here that has all the ordinances in there, and they're just trying to keep Middletown beautiful, and they just want you to do that also. To you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Horn. I do have several comments this evening, and I would like to start off just by saying also thank you to everyone who did come out this evening. It is wonderful to see people out. This is what we really love. It's the best way to actually get to us is to come out in person if you're available to do so. So I very much appreciate that as well. I wanted to let Ms. Gaston know I do have conversations also with our city manager about this very topic, and it's something that we've been talking about since you brought it to our attention, so thank you very much for that. And let's see here. First, before I begin, I'd like to, although he was unable to attend this evening, I would like to thank Mr. Nathan Cahall for his years of service to the City of Middletown. Mr. Cahall joined us in November of 2021 as Finance Director and became Assistant City Manager in April of 2022. He also served as Acting City Manager for the latter half of 2024. Mr. Cahall's last day with the city is this Friday, June 6th. And I have enjoyed working with him and always laughed at his quirky sayings. If you know him, you know what I'm talking about. I wish him all the best and great happiness and fulfillment in his future endeavors. This Thursday, June 5th, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., please join in at the Community Center as the Isaiah 55 produce truck will be in town to offer fresh food to families. Simply bring your own bags for fresh and free local produce. For more information about this wonderful event, please contact CBI, that's our Community Building Institute. This Friday, June 6th, is DMI's first Friday event in downtown called Chalk It Up. This event will feature chalk art, community art projects, and live street artists. Activities will include children's chalk zone and games at Governor's Square, a chalk character hunt throughout downtown, community chalkboard art pieces in our local businesses, live artists of various mediums throughout downtown. The Pendleton Arts Center will have open art studios until 9 p.m., and select businesses will be open late. Please visit downtownmiddletown.org for more information. Later that evening, this Friday, June 6th, at the historic Sorg Opera House that Mr. Horn was speaking of, is Signs of Life, the American Pink Floyd. This cover band faithfully captures the music, emotion, and excitement of a Pink Floyd concert featuring authentic music, sound effects, lighting, and video to recreate the essence of Pink Floyd. For more information and to purchase tickets, please visit sorgoperahouse.org. This Saturday, June 7th, from noon to 4 p.m. is Jeepin' Eats, hosted by our Middletown Division of Police. Come see Jeeps of all shapes and sizes at Smith Park, located at 507 Titus Avenue. Hang out with friends and grab some great eats from a variety of food trucks. There will be kids' inflatables, Jeep vendors, and live music. Admission is free. For more information, please check Facebook. Later that night, June 7th, with doors opening at 7 p.m., come see Scotty Bratcher perform at the Sorg Opera House. A proud Middletown native, born and raised, Scotty has lived outside of Ohio for periods of time, but has and will always consider Middletown home. Scotty has played with and opened for names like Ted Nugent, Blue Oyster Cult, Foghat, Eddie the Chief Clearwater, 38 Special, Styx, Peter Frampton, Lou Graham a Foreigner, and many more. Scotty is also an accomplished studio musician who has recorded with many blues, rock, country, gospel, funk, and even heavy metal artists. From his beginnings here in Middletown to traveling the world, his dream has always been to play at the Sorg Opera House. Fans, new and veteran, are invited to make his dream show extraordinary. For more information, please visit sorgoperahouse.org. The Ohio Department of Public Safety, along with our Middletown Police Department and the Hope Line, are holding a resource carnival next Friday, June 13th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Douglas Park, located at 1825 Minnesota Street. This is a free, family-friendly event with food, resources, and support for substance use, recovery, mental health, and wellness. Learn about treatment options, grab a free meal, and connect with vital services. Everyone is welcome. For more information, please call Victoria Hensley with the Hope Line at 513-309-2934. On Saturday, June 14th, come out to the Sorg Opera House to enjoy the classic musical Grease on the big screen. Get ready to return to Rydell High, where the hair is high, the songs are catchy, and summer love never really ends. The Crafting with the Classics show is at 10 a.m., and regular showings are at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. with tickets at only $10. For more information, please visit sorgoperahouse.org. June 13th, 14th, and 15th, don't miss your chance to see the High Camp cult classic Reefer Madness on the big screen for a pay-what-you-can Sorg fundraiser event. Your donation directly supports critical improvements and repairs to the Sorg Opera House's aging roof. Help keep the rain out and the lights on. For more information, please visit sorgoperahouse.org. Please save the date and purchase your tickets for Middletown Rocks, the CBI, or the Community Building Institute, annual fundraiser. Come out for the greatest night in Middletown and watch 7 Middletown celebrities sing in front of a live band, all to raise money for a great cause, our Middletown kids. You will laugh, you will sing, you will be on your feet dancing. To learn more, to purchase tickets, or simply to donate, please visit cbimiddletown.org. As a reminder, the City of Middletown accepts applications for our boards and commissions throughout the year. So if there's something that you have an interest in and you wish to give back to your city in this way, please do submit your application. To learn more, please visit the city's website at cityofmiddletown.org. Lastly, and as always, there are many ways to get involved with your community and give back. Join a board or committee, run for office, apply for a job with the city, volunteer at the hospital, pick up trash in your neighborhood or park, plant a garden in your yard, smile at a neighbor, find joy and satisfaction for a job well done in whatever work you do, or just have a positive and giving attitude. Find something that you can do regularly and give back. We are all connected and we are all in this together. The care of our city is an adventure in which we all get to share. That is all from me tonight, and this concludes council comments. The next item on the agenda is city manager reports. City manager, Ms. Ashley Combs, you have the floor.
Good evening. So first, before the two presentations that we have tonight, I just wanted to recognize that the city received the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, Award for Outstanding Achievement in Popular Annual Finance Reporting for the PAFR for the fiscal year ending in December 31st, 2023. Again, I just want to congratulate the Finance Department for all their outstanding work. So first, for city managers' reports, I'd like to welcome down Scott Tatis. She's going to give an update for the paving schedule.
So this is what everybody really showed up for, I guess. Do you have the... Oh, never mind, here it is. All right, as a reminder, we awarded a contract for the ODOT urban paving paving project that includes resurfacing 122 Roosevelt Boulevard. That's between the University Overpass and Jackson Lane. Excuse me. It was awarded to John R. Jurgensen Company an amount of $1,558,000. I'm waiting on an updated schedule for that. Expect to have that any day now, but they should be starting probably in the next month. So, and they'll be complete by this fall. Next project includes paving several arterial streets throughout town. This includes Manchester Road between Brill and the city limits, also Brill between Rosedale and Manchester, and then also Grand Avenue between Brill and the Alameda. We're going to open bids for this next week, and I'm expecting to have to bring the award contract to council at the next meeting, most likely. That project will also be completed this fall. And that will also include curbs, gutters, sidewalks, handicap ramps, and what have you. And then finally, we have a third paving project that'll start later this year. Includes the streets on this list. It's multiple streets, including residential streets throughout the city. Work will include 3 inches of milling, combination of a spot base repair and cement stabilization, depending on the street. Asphalt paving and pavement striping, curbs, drive aprons, sidewalks, handicap ramps will be repaired as well. Estimated project cost is $3.5 million, with $1 million being funded by an Ohio Public Works Commission grant. Plans are being finalized now for that project to be bid out here in the not too distant future. I expect the concrete work to be done this year, and then the milling and paving be done next year. And then last, here's just a map showing the project locations. This is on our website, but I think the mayor pointed out there was an error on the main page. We'll get that corrected. Also wanted to mention we're going to be doing some pavement milling or pavement patching through like a mill and fill process. You probably noticed it, I don't know, if on some of the main roads we've marked out some squares of white. So we're going to have a contractor come and do that on a number of the main roads as well. And that'll be followed by a pavement striping project later this summer. And I didn't have a chance to get those streets mapped out, but we can do that and get that on the website as well. So that's our plans for the rest of this year. So, yes.
Any questions? Mrs. Carter. So Main Street, we're waiting on, so you know, that's a utility project. That's not our project. That's for the water line that went down Main Street. Right. We're waiting on a schedule from the contractor. I've been pushing them to get that to us as soon as possible. We have reached out to Cleveland Cliffs as well, because that's ultimately their project. I just don't have a schedule yet from them, but they should be ready to go pretty soon. That will be completely milled and redone. I think Mr. Lawley brought it up at the last meeting, get some questions about that. It is bumpy, obviously, but that'll be repaved, both Main Street and portions of Lafayette. So,
I also am curious about the concrete over there in Oakland Park. I was riding around and I seen they had big chunks of concrete in front of the park, and I'm wondering.
Oh, that's part of the park project, I believe. They had to they had some poor workmanship in some of that, and they had to rip it out and redo it. That may have been it. I'm not totally certain. I'd have to double check. But you're saying it was like around the street, or?
It's in the park.
Yeah.
It's right there in the park, right?
Yeah, they had to redo some concrete work within the park.
It didn't settle right.
Yeah.
They have to redo it.
Oh, so, okay.
That's on the contractor, obviously, to do that. So.
That was my next statement. Somebody had written in to say, who's paying for this? The contractor's paying for that. Because our city noticed that the work wasn't done correctly, so thank you for that.
So,
okay.
Scott, if you had to, with the paving levy and then the 2025 paving project, do you have an idea of what percentage of our roads in the last 2 years have been paved?
Well, I think with the paving levy and even through, not even including this, we paved 1/3. One thing I do mention, I do have that updated pavement condition report almost finalized that we can to give to council as well when we get the final draft. So we paved, I think, well over 200 lane miles out of 650.
Okay.
Which, that's not even including, what you're seeing today. This is, and maybe not even the last couple years of projects.
Okay.
So.
And any other questions or comments for Mr. Tadich? The one last question I had is you had mentioned the pavement patching and the pavement striping as well. It sounds like that should also be done and complete by this fall?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wondered.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
The last presentation I have for you is Middletown TV presentation by Lenny Robinson. You can go ahead and come forward.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, City Manager Combs. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm Lenny Robinson. For those of you who don't know me, Paul Lally thinks that's a good thing. But I am a local guy. I've been here longer than you, Mr. Horn. I was here in 1954. So I'm a Middletown guy. I'm a proud graduate of Lincoln Elementary School, Roosevelt Junior High, Middletown High School. My phone number is one off from Central Pastry, and Saturday morning, my dad took lots of orders. So Middletown's been a great community. I own an industrial and commercial real estate brokerage and development company. I've been on lots of boards and have served Middletown however I can. Tonight I'm here. There is a proposal in your packet that I had presented to the city manager with regard to bringing Middletown positively back to television. And that is, number one, I want to make certain this is not a redo or a TV Middletown 2.0. I'm not looking to restart TV Middletown. So I was on the board of TV Middletown. I did the sports for Middletown High School for football and basketball. TV Middletown went dark about a decade ago simply because the building that we had been gifted, which was the old J.C. Penney building, we had 2 successive water line breaks in Januaries back to back. The first year we had sufficient funds for the insurance deductible. Second year we didn't. So we went out of business. Middletown Schools had been after me for quite some time to see what we could do to get Middletown sports back on TV. Happy to say, working with the schools, back in December, we had a club started. We were teaching high school students how to do live video production. I had purchased a television production truck, and I got it out of California. It was actually built in Ohio, in Sunbury, by the largest builder of mobile video production trucks in North America. And this was state of the art. It's about a $600,000 truck new. Fortunately, I didn't pay that new. But what I want to stress is, I'm not here looking for funds to start a business, to create a business, to ask for equipment. We are self-sufficient. This is a truck that has a 10,000 watt generator, so I don't need to ask anybody for power. We can go right to the internet through a modem that we have. So this is something, and if you watch the video on your screen, this was just a quick video. If you can run that, that's showing pictures. If you can hit the play on that, this is inside the truck. That's one of our techs, and it may not play, but if what you're looking at, that's the graphics machine. It's called Expression. That's what ESPN demands if I'm going to do an ESPN show. If you can go to the next slide, or Or hit the pin button. Right, this is getting started into a game with Middletown basketball. You can see our director, our video engineer, and back in the back is our sound engineer. It just gives you a quick look inside of what the truck is.
Two, give me just something else. A little bit different. Do you mind adjusting the mic? I don't think we can record.
Sure.
I don't think we record you and show the video at the same time. I'm not sure. It doesn't sound like it.
Okay.
There we go.
That's just a quick look inside the truck. It takes 5 people to run it. And then we have 4 camera operators and typically 2 utility operators or 2, they're just gophers. And for Middletown basketball, I was very pleased to announce that we had 2 very qualified gophers, one in Dr. Kevin Strait and one in Dr. Greg Sini. So they helped us out with Middletown basketball. You're looking at the other picture just inside, and one is of one of the cameras. Happy to say that I parked the truck right outside the door, so after the meeting, if you want to take a look at it, I'll stick around just so you can take a look. I'm going to pass out to you now. This is just an additional document when we get into the program or into the proposal that there are 2 options to get Middletown back on TV. One would be to work with me. I have WinStar Video Productions, and that's what that truck is WinStar Video Productions. And what I'm asking for in the first proposal is basically a retainer to come from the franchise fees collected by the City of Middletown, paid by Spectrum and possibly Alta Fiber, and I don't know if AT&T or anybody else comes in, but through the Ohio Revised Code, funds are allowed to be charged. The consumers of the cable pay them. So this is not tax money the city receives, it's franchise fee money. And for the budget for 2025, according to the Finance Department, Middletown has budgeted $450,000 to be collected. Last year in 2024, the amount collected was $491,000 and change. So a nice sum of money. I don't know how much is earmarked for any particular program, but what I'm asking for is if the city would agree to work with me for $60,000, we'll do a minimum of 10 events. And I say a minimum because I don't know if they're going to be big ones or they're going to be little ones. And what is an event or a show? Perhaps it could be working with Butler Tech and the opening of the new facility at Hook Field. I think that's something that people would like to see. Is it going to be the pickleball tournament held at Smith Park or held at Lefferson Park? I've already met with Michelle from the Pickleball Association to kind of map out how we could do it and what's involved. Got her working on that. Could it be something with the arts and something they're doing? The events would be up to you, not to me. You're going to tell me this is what we want to cover. Do we want to cover the parades? Do we want to cover Light Up Middletown? I don't know. But that is what would happen. We would transmit these programs most likely onto the Middletown website or its YouTube page or its Facebook page or all of them. That's one option. The second option, I wasn't real high on at first, but the more I got into it, the more I really liked it. And I had Jason Dudley, who's the new executive director for the ICRC TV out of Cincinnati, meet with myself and with Mr. Lawley. ICRC was founded in 1982. It is a consortium of, right now, 22 government communities, or communities, if you will, throughout the area. And the piece of paper I gave to you to be handed out shows that list. And the ICRC has much more in terms of capability than do I. They have a full studio. They have edit suites. They have 2 production trucks plus additional small, what we call interview kits to do smaller programs. They want to they want to use my van and have me work with them to help do Middletown events. They have also the ability that I don't have, and that is to create content and branding for social media. I'm from the vinyl era, so they have that. They have people just specially designed for that. They have a full-time crew of 6. They have part-time people. They have college interns, and they also have over 20 freelancers to do camera, replay, direct, do audio. Their fee is 40% of the franchise fee. And one of the good things is the ICRC TV will work with the city of Middletown, create a contract specifically for Middletown and for what Middletown wants. And Mr. Lally, I think, as they told us, they said, hey, they got a phone call from another community. We're having a ribbon cutting in an hour. Is there any way you guys can come here and cover it? And they were there for small things like that. It's a great opportunity, no matter which direction council would like to go, to get economic development created and ads created in different events. So if we're doing a parade, for example, we can take a break to go to a 30-second commercial for economic development, or for what's coming up with the arts, or for what's coming up with SORG. Just a way to get the message out not only on television, and I say that because the ICRC is on 6 channels of Spectrum and 6 channels of Alta Fiber. And they say if you have Alta Fiber in Middletown, you can watch ICRC right now. Now, Middletown does have a channel available, that is my understanding, through Spectrum. I have been trying to get a hold of Spectrum, working through the Chamber of Commerce for months, and we're getting nowhere. And I've talked with ICRC, they have the direct connection, and they will be able to help us out if we go that direction. So a couple of different proposals on how to get Middletown, the positive part of Middletown. We want to get, and I know one of the taglines we had with TV Middletown was positively Middletown. I'm all for the promotion of our great city, and I'm just trying to help. That's my give back. And with that, I would just say, hey, what questions would you have on what it takes to do this? What's the timing and so forth? So I'll end my speech right now. And Paul, I promise it would be short, and it is.
Do you have any questions or comments at this time for Lenny?
Sure.
Mr. Horn.
So, congratulations, you're older than me.
Yes.
And you're a baby boomer. So, I'm a Gen Xer.
Okay.
So, very proud of that. So, the only question I have about this is, and I appreciate the information, and I'm glad that you're helping with the Middletown school systems, with their sports programs and such. So, and the question I'm asking, I'm not expecting you to have answers, but this is my thought process.
Sure.
A lot of people now, including myself, we have internet. I pay for internet, but I don't pay for a cable box.
Right.
And it's not because my parents have a cable box. It's not like that. It's more like I can stream everything that I want. And that's just, it's just the world we live in. It's just really strange that, more people now get their news from podcasts. And it can be on either side. It can be Chris Cuomo, it can be Tucker Carlson, or it can be the King, Joe Rogan, or The Hill, and these are all streamed. So I don't want to say this is archaic, but it's something that we want to know that it's going to be watched, because eventually it's going to be said, okay, we did this, and then I'm sure that we get feedback on, like the old Nielsen's, where so many people are watching it or so.
Well, that's archaic.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, I looked online before I came down. How many people watched last council meeting on YouTube?
I don't watch myself, so no.
It had about 205 hits.
Yeah.
Our first basketball game we did between Fenwick and Middletown on January 4th, I think the game was. We had over 1,400 watchers.
Yeah.
But streaming is very, very popular. We didn't have that with TV Middletown. All we had was going over cable channel 24.
Right.
And you're right, streaming, and so this, either way you go, well, no, if you go with ICRC, you're going to get the best of both worlds. All the streaming plus all the cable channels.
Right. And the thing is and I truly believe this is not TV Middletown version 2. But the question always is because what you're saying is you want to show these events, which is awesome, of these things that we're trying to do. But then what we want is we want to draw people from, our citizens will know about it, but how does this get drawn from and I'm not going to go too far out, I mean like the Springboro, the Lebanon, the Mason, Westchester, Liberty Township, how did they?
Fair question. If you look at that list, you'll see that Lebanon and Mason are on that list of the ICRC.
Okay.
Westchester has WCC TV, which is Westchester Community Television. They passed a bond on that 20 years ago for $500,000. And now what's happened with them in terms of Lakota doing sports, they have kids doing it with little home cameras.
Right.
And if you look at what we have here in the complex here, they're using a little ATEM switcher, which is great for what it does. So things have evolved from watching, when I grew up, 3 channels to thousands of channels now, if you will. But yeah, streaming is really, I'm going to watch it on my phone when I'm driving somewhere.
Right.
Or not driving, when I'm somewhere
Don't admit
else.
that on public record.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I think working with ICRC, they can help do branding, which is important, which is key. I have no idea what this would be called. It's not going to be called TV Middletown. That's what everybody calls it because simply that's what we were.
Right.
But the programs, if you go on the ICRC website, you can see everything. It's all archived there, so you can call it up and you can watch it online. And if you want to watch it on your TV, you can do that as well. So.
And that's why I appreciate if you saying, you know, whatever events we have, because we're even, you know, we all are passionate in certain areas,
Sure.
and we're even looking at potentially trying to figure out how to get Midfest back, and that's why at times I think our area, especially the downtown area, needs to be more, for now, an event destination where people come and see, because at times when you see Middletown on the news, it might not be positive. So, and they're just giving the news. So it'd be nice to have something that says, this is Middletown, this is the events that we're having. That's why I mention them, and the mayor and everyone on council always mentions them, and they're on our webpage. Because if you have that event destination, then people's like, hey, this is nice, and they got this, and they got that, and then suddenly they were thinking about, hey, maybe I want to live here, maybe I want to work here. You know, when I think of a city that is probably an event destination, and everyone knows about it, is Waynesville. It's a sauerkraut festival, and they don't mind being that because they have 1 million people come in and they have 1 million people leave. And then during the year you can go antiquing there. Not that I want Middletown to become that, but if you have those events that when you say that event, it's Middletown.
Right.
And you say Balloon Challenge, it's Middletown. Eventually we're going to have an air show, Middletown. I'd like to have Midfest back in a different version, because the last century version that you and I enjoyed, I don't think the kids would enjoy Japan. I did. Or Africa, or whatever, or Ireland. Maybe they just want music festivals and such.
I still remember the Aussie burgers.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing is so we want those things out there in the sphere, in this or that, saying this is an event that you want to come to, and it's in Middletown, and we have those abilities. And I think that's a positive side of this.
And the one thing I would say that leans me toward the ICRC versus me is because they have a studio, you can bring in the people that you want. You can bring in whatever pictures, slides, videos. They can edit it all together and have a nice program. You know, I'm thinking, do we want to do that with the firehouses? Have the new fire chief sitting down with someone else doing an interview, and then shoot the different firehouses, put that all together in a package, get that information out there to the citizens so they see what's going on.
Thank you.
For Midfest or anything. What other questions?
Just a couple quick ones. So I am a proponent for the ICRC route. So Middletown would fall into the 40% of the franchise?
40%, and the city of Middletown, I forgot to mention this, also gets a seat on the board.
Okay.
So whomever is designated to represent the city would be on the board for ICRC.
So for ICRC, is there a set minimum, maximum for events?
No.
Okay, so that's what I was hoping to hear, because specifically, I've said it many times up here, is that Middletown, the image of Middletown, typically it's depicted through tragic events here in town, and so I think some of that could be changed. I mean, there's a lot of positive things going on in Middletown. There's a lot of events.
Oh, yeah.
Even covering whether it's something that DMI is hosting, or like you said, a ribbon cutting, or, you know, all of these things, let alone the parades and things like that. But the other thing that I think about too is, you know, there's a lot of residents that are shut-ins. You know, there's, whether they're in a nursing home or they're aging in place. There's also a lot of residents that, former residents that might be snowbirding in Florida that, you know, they like to see what's going on in town. So I see a lot of potential specifically with the ICRC route in this. Sporting events are great. I remember the Fenwick and Middies game, you know, it's phenomenal, right? And the length that you've gone to acquire the truck, the equipment and everything is amazing. So I think I definitely agree. It's not a 2.0. So I mean, I would be 100% in favor of the ICRC route myself, because I see the potential there. I see the collaboration piece, you know, even working with our communications manager on, you know, what's going on. Are there certain things that, you know, we could highlight? I think it's great. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
And so you all know, if you go with ICRC, they'd like to hire me to work doing stuff for the city of Middletown, because I know Middletown. And I'd be happy to do that. So either way, I'm involved. Hopefully that's a good thing.
So if we go the ICRC route, that's, so 40% of the 450,000 would be about $180,000. What about the 60,000?
Oh, that's
gone.
You have option A or option B. Right. They're not intertwined.
Okay, so that wouldn't enter into it. No. So here's my take on this is I'm all in favor of the 60,000. So this $450,000 franchise fees, when it comes in, it's just thrown into the general fund budget. And then it gets spent on whatever. So I think city staff, the city manager, is well within her right to say, you know what, I'm going to take $60,000 of us, and we're going to have Lenny go out there and do some of these events, because that's under the $100,000 threshold. And really, I'm really much in favor of saying tonight we should just direct the city manager to do that. What I really want to see first, though, on the 180,000, I'd really want to talk with the finance director to see what hit on the budget that is going to cause to the general fund. It's weird, you know, the city, why the city does that. It's like the EMS fund. We take what, $2 million in on the EMS fund, but that's thrown into the general fund budget. It doesn't go to the fire department per se, because I fought for years, you should pull that $2 million out and that should go to the fire department. They said, okay, we'll do that. We're taking $2 million out of your operating. So, you know, but this, you know, I see, I'm all in favor of that ICRC. I really need to see how it's going to affect the general fund budget, what that money is used for. But I don't have a problem with, let's go this year doing the $60,000.
Whichever is fine. I'm not saying go with me, go with them. I think it's a better choice for the ICRC just because they offer more than what I can physically do, especially on the social networking and the social media. I just don't have that capability. And they can help on branding. You know, what is Middletown? What's the tagline?
Right. The only problem is, once again, that it's probably going to take $180,000 away from something.
Now, the other thing I would like to do, and I strongly suggest, and so you know, Jason Dudley, who's head of the executive director for ICRC, teaches at Miami University in Oxford on video production. He also directs Xavier University sports on television. So he's got a lot of background there. And he's got a tremendous passion as well. I would recommend, they said, we'll write a contract specifically for Middletown. Because I'm in real estate, I strongly advise, let's make sure we take a look at the contract first. There's going to be a ramp up period no matter which way you go. So let's make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So that I throw that out as a caveat.
So what is you just mentioned something, that you're comfortable in this lane of video production and doing events and such.
Mm-hmm.
But you said you're not comfortable, or you're not, that's where your focus is. Like, I'm an electrician.
Right.
I don't want to do plumbing. So I can do electrical all day. So we do have a communications person who does podcasts, and is that what you're talking about, of not being able to do the social media stuff that we could help you with? Because I see Paul's sense of, we can write a check, or she has a $100,000 limit.
Okay.
And it's almost like maybe we do this for a year and just do all of our events and work with Clayton Castle, because he's doing a podcast on our website. So if it's and he's young, so maybe that collaboration. And I don't want to speak for you. If you're like, no, Paul, you're not getting it. This is what I do, and these other guys will do it better than me. But we have that ability to an employee that we pay to take care of our webpage and do all the social media things that could work with you. And we just do this for a year, and then do all of our events that are coming up.
The one thing I would caution on is what my truck is equipped to do is, for example, I got 2,000 feet of what's called triax cable that runs to the cameras. We can talk to the cameramen, we can talk inside the truck, we can talk to talent, and I can record all that as a live production. What I think is done with social media is we're going to take a couple of cameras, we're going to shoot this, we're going to shoot that, we're going to edit it together, bring it all together, put graphics with it, put the sound effects with it, put the audio with it. Now you're getting into a lot more video production in a studio versus live video production.
That's why I'm asking the question, because
The only thing I know about electric is it sure is fast.
And it hurts a little bit sometimes.
Any other comments or questions at this time?
Yes, my comment is, why do we need to make a decision tonight? Can't we let this sit?
Yeah, we don't have to make a decision this evening.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No,
I think you're just proposing it.
Contract.
It seemed to me that we were saying, write a check and do this, and I need to digest this. I do.
Press hard, 3 copies. No.
Like he said, we have someone that's working on podcasts and all of that, and
That's great. This is just a way to get more information out to more people. And I wasn't looking for an agreement.
We don't have near the equipment that he does that could do various other city events. And my point is it's not, we bring in $450,000 in our franchise fee. Let's take 60,000 of it for the next year and just let them use it to do these events.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's
We don't,
budgeted for.
we
but
need to make.
Once again, we don't have to make that decision. Technically, the city manager can go ahead and do that.
And I can think of something else to do with $60,000. I can think of many things to do with $60,000 today, right now.
I think it's fair
And that's
to.
what I'm saying. Just wait.
Well, I'd like to actually learn a little bit more. I'm also of the opinion, perhaps, I'd like to see what ICRC, what that would entail, and maybe just have that conversation to say maybe we start directly with that. But I'm definitely interested in what you brought to us this evening. I know over the years people have wanted TV Middletown back, and I know this isn't TV Middletown, but something, it's the next step, right? It's the next stage. So I'm very interested in this conversation. I probably have more questions for you once I've let this settle a little bit, like you're saying, and think about things and ask our city manager, maybe reach out to you again.
Sure. Anytime.
Wonderful. But I'm very grateful that you brought this to us and
Well, I
have
thank you
started
for
this
the
conversation.
opportunity.
One more thought, real quick. And I'm not asking for a number, and you can discuss this with Ashley. What if could you do a sample event like Jeeps and Eats or 4th of July parade or something, so we could actually see one of our events coming up? Because the thing is, I don't mind waiting on time, that's fine, because we're going to have these events every year, that's okay. But if we're going to be doing this, we have events coming up in June, July, August, September, and then after October, really the events go away, and you're more doing basketball and football during that time. But could you do a sample event of one of our events that are coming up? And
I am more than happy to put my truck in on that for free. I've got to bring in freelancers. And
That's what I mean. You have overhead. If you're, as the Joker once said, if you're good at something, never do it for free. That's why I charge.
Right. And once again, we got the franchise money that the city manager would be well within her right.
The reason I'm bringing that up is then everybody can see a sample of like I said, if you're good at something, never do it for free. But if we had just one of our events that you did, through your broadcasting and everything else, and then everyone can see what you're paying for.
I can show you a basketball game because those are archived.
Right.
I can send you a link to that.
I was going to say, he probably already has sample.
That's what I mean. Or at our next meeting that we're going to have to discuss this.
I mean, if you're happy with watching a couple of different basketball games, we have one from the Miller Gym and one from down at Mason. I can.
I also do like Mr. Horn's suggestion, because if we can take some of the money perhaps and maybe pay for the freelancers to do the work, to see an outdoor event in Middletown, perhaps that may be something we can discuss. It doesn't have to be decided right now, but I would love to see a sample event, especially outside. We do have the Jeep and Eats coming up. That might be too soon, but we do have the parade coming up on July 4th and so on.
And when is the Jeeps and Eats?
I believe, this weekend.
Sorry.
So it's soon. It's very soon. Saturday, I believe.
But it's kind of cool because they have Jeeps, they have Eats, they have T-shirts. It's with the police department. But then what else we got coming up? Well, we have the Ohio Challenge, which is balloons.
Right. I know.
That would be a big one where you can go around and really do interview and show out everything's going on. That's all I'm saying is if you just give us a sample, then everyone can see what we're paying for, and then we can say we want to go this way or that way.
What I will do is, I know I have your email address. If I can just email you, I'll send you I'll email him the link to a couple of basketball games. You can watch those immediately.
Why don't you send them to the city manager?
I can send them to the city manager as well.
Or even and the clerk of council can do it as well.
Okay.
And if you need to see some other, or get some ideas for other events, downtownmiddletown.org is a good place to go to see what events are coming up. I think we also have, do you still do Thunderfest? I'm not sure. Yeah, we still have Thunderfest in July. So we have some things coming up, so you might be able to check check with some of the community organizations. But I would appreciate that too.
Yeah, and if we do the parade, there would be some coordination because we're going to need a couple of people to do the announcing. Talk about the floats coming up or the bands coming up and so forth.
So that might be working with our communication manager perhaps.
Yeah.
But we can coordinate with them.
Break into the Macy's Day.
Don't have to wear winter coats, but that's a great opportunity to get information from the city about upcoming events. So whoever's doing the announcing can talk about it. By the way, here's what's coming up, and so forth and so.
It's a great idea.
I mean, if you're doing karaoke with 7 famous people, you might be able to do it.
Well, that was one of my ideas. I was thinking, whoa, maybe you could record Middletown Rocks if they don't already record it. Like that would be fun.
The only problem is when you start dealing with music, it's copyrighted.
Oh gosh, you're right.
And then when YouTube
demonetize, yeah,
and Facebook have algorithms on there that if you get music, it cuts off the audio.
There we go. But good job. Any other comments or questions this evening for Mr. Robinson? Thank you so much.
Thank you one and all. I look forward to your questions.
I will just say that in the meantime, I'll get more information on the franchise fees, and then I think it'd be helpful for Mr. Robinson to meet with myself and Clayton and discuss other items too. So, thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Combs?
That's all for me.
All right. Thank you. At this time, I think I would like to take about a 10-minute break. So we'll come back and reconvene at 7:43.
You need to dehydrate before meetings.
For consensus items, do any council members wish to remove anything from the consent agenda this evening and move it to the motion agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will continue. Mrs. Skank, please present the consent agenda.
For your consideration this evening, we have the approval of the city council minutes for May the 6th and May the 20th, 2025. To receive and file oaths of office for Justin Greenberg, Ginger Holland, Cameron Lattimore, and Mary Pinnock, and to adopt and endorse the right-of-way dedication for the remainder of Made Industrial Drive.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. We will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mrs. Carter? Yes. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mayor Slamka?
Yes.
Mr. Lawley?
Yes.
The consent agenda is approved. Our next item on the agenda this evening is a motion agenda. We have 3 items this evening. Mrs. Skank, please present item A on the motion agenda.
To accept the 2025 State Violent Crime Reduction Funding Grant supported by the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services in the amount of $61,000.
Thank you. Ms. Combs, the staff report, please.
To address violent crimes, MPD will adopt a focused deterrence strategy based on deterrence theory, which suggests that the fear of severe consequences deters criminal activity. We will install 12 additional flock cameras and acquire a mobile security trailer to enhance surveillance and deter crime. This expansion is crucial for adequately monitoring our growing community and addressing gaps in visibility that could encourage criminal behavior. The benefits of this approach will increase surveillance, real-time alerts, evidence collection, community awareness, and targeted policing. So overall, the measure aims to create a strong deterrent against violent crime in the neighborhoods. So the financial impact that was mentioned is $61,000 from the Ohio Criminal Justice Services for 1 year with no matching requirement. In the following 2 years of the contract with Flock Safety, the city must allocate $61,000 annually for camera systems. The police department aims to seek grant funding for those years, but it's not guaranteed.
Thank you, Ms. Combs. Is there a motion to approve item A to accept the 2025 State Violent Crime Reduction Funding Grant in the amount of $61,000?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Combs, I just wanted to clarify, it's just the year 2 and year 3 for the $61,000. After that, there is no cost or payment as such as $61,000?
I would like to have that one addressed, that question addressed for you. My understanding is that's correct.
That's what I thought from reading the report.
Confirm that.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening. Well, from the report, it looks like to accept the grant, the $61,000 is almost kind of like waived the first year, but then the second and third years, that's when $61,000 would be needed again. But after like year 4, there would be no $61,000 from the city?
If we were to continue those same amount of cameras, yes. So we have a contract with Flock that basically every 3 years that we would have to re-up that contract. So if we continue to keep those 12, like right now, the cameras that we have is in our budget, but if we were to continue to have these cameras past those 3 years, and when we sign that new contract, we'd have to continue to pay for them.
Okay, thank you. And it seems like we will be applying for this grant every year. We might not get it, but it looks like we would be continuing to apply, and that would also include year 4 and beyond.
Yes.
Okay. That's it for me. Any other questions? No. All right, thank you. All right, if there are no other questions, we will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mayor Slamka?
Yes.
Mrs. Carter? Yes. Mr. Lawley?
Yes.
The yeses have it, and the motion passes. Mrs. Skank, please present item B on the motion agenda.
To approve the purchase of one Sutphen heavy-duty 75-foot mid-mount aerial ladder fire truck, Quint, from the Heritage Fire Equipment in the amount of $1,585,450.79 for the fire department.
Thank you. Ms. Combs, the staff report, please.
The Division of Fire plans to replace its 2013 Sutphen pumper in 2028. They recommend purchasing a 75-foot aerial ladder to now enhance rescue capabilities and serve as a backup to the 2022 tower ladder. The build time is 24 to 28 months, and rising costs have prompted them to lock in current rates through Sourcewell Cooperative Program before the expected increase of 5 to 7% on today, June 3rd, 2025. They request approval of this purchase to remove a 2006 sump-fed pumper that exceeds the replacement criteria.
Thank you very much, Ms. Combs. Is there a motion to approve item B to approve the purchase of one Sutphen heavy-duty 75-foot mid-mount aerial ladder fire truck from Heritage Fire Equipment in the amount of $1,585,450.79 for the fire department?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Having been properly moved and seconded, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mr. Horn.
Yes.
Mayor Slamka.
Yes.
Mr. Lawley.
Yes.
Mrs. Carter.
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
The yeses have it, and the motion passes. Mrs. Skank, please present item C on the motion agenda.
To refer to the Planning Commission, a text amendment of the Middletown Development Code, Section 1226.01, the review and decision-making authorities, specifically Section 1226.01C, to consider adding a city council member as an additional non-voting member of the Historic Commission.
Thank you, Mrs. Skank. Ms. Combs, the staff report, please.
I really have nothing further to add. That pretty much encompasses the request.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item C to refer to Planning Commission a text amendment of the Middletown Development Code to consider adding a city council member as an additional non-voting member of Historic Commission?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Having been properly moved and seconded, is there any discussion?
I do.
Mr. Horn?
So I can explain it. So this is for another one of our advisory boards, the Historical Commission, and actually one of the people on the boards asked why we don't have a person from City Council there, and then another one said, well, when I wrote this, it was just in the way it was written in the ordinance, it made it look like we were a voting member, which that's not ever the case. We were always non-voting, but we're a member, so we have a voice there, so we can be heard at these meetings, and we also use that to report back. And once this gets back, if it does pass, like I said, I will volunteer to be that person till the end of my term. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mayor Slamka.
Yes.
Mr. Lawley.
Yes.
Mrs. Carter.
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Mr. Horn.
Yes.
Yeses have it, and the motion passes. This concludes the motion agenda. The next item on the agenda is legislation. We have 6 items of legislation this evening. And Assistant Law Director, Mr. Hemingway, the legislation, please.
First, we have resolution number 2025-16, a resolution approving and adopting an economic development plan stating that the city may hereafter proceed with approval of a tax increment financing incentive district for the Roosevelt Ridge project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Ms. Combs, do you have anything to add?
Yes, this proposed legislation commences the legislative process to create that incentive tax district under the ORC by announcing the required public hearing in matter and authorizing the delivery of required notices to the local school district, JBS, and property owners. This is a second reading emergency. Staff is requesting that council pass this measure as an emergency on its second reading to ensure the TIF district legislation is effective before key deadlines in the development agreement.
Thank you, Ms. Combs. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mr. Lawley.
Yes.
Mrs. Carter.
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Mr. Horn.
Yes.
Mayor Slamka.
Yes. The yeses have it, and the legislation passes. Mr. Hemingway, the next item, please.
Ordinance number 2025-33, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of notes in the maximum principal amount of $7,897,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying the costs of the acquisition of the town mall and related structures located on parcel numbers 703-153-006, 703-176-040, 703-176-01, and 703-172-002, and costs of related due diligence, title work, and design services, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, all in support of an economic development and job creation within the city. This is a second reading.
Thank you. Ms. Combs, do you have anything to add?
I do not. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mayor Slanka?
Yes.
Mr. Lawley?
Yes.
Yeses have it. The legislation passes. Mr. Hemingway, the next item, please.
Ordinance number 2025-34, an ordinance authorizing a change order to the contract with Building Crafts for the construction of the filter backwash tank at the water treatment plant and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Ms. Combs, the staff report, please.
The city contracted with Building Crafts in November 2024 to construct a filter backwash tank designed to collect and discharge filter backwash to the sanitary sewer. Currently, the backwash is sent to the Lime Lagoon, contributing to capacity issues. The construction documents indicated an invert elevation of the backwash discharge line as 628.85 feet based on the provided record drawings. However, it was found that the actual invert elevation is 2.46 feet lower, necessitating additional earthwork to lower the tank and make the pipe connections. Consequently, more concrete and rebar are required for the construction, leading to the additional cost of $161,385 from the contractor. This change order is required to complete the construction of this project, and there are no alternatives. And this is an emergency.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
Motion.
Is there a second? Second. It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes. How did this happen? I mean, if the company came out and did the, hey, this is it, and this is what we're going to, this is what it costs to do this, is this a mistake by the company? And if so, why are we getting stuck with a $161,000 increase?
Mr. Tadich?
It was not a mistake by the company. So that line was buried, and they were going off of original records for the plant, and it was off.
Okay.
So once they dug it up, they realized it's 2.5 feet lower than what it was expected.
Okay.
You know, just like you're tearing into a wall. And
okay. So I get that.
yeah, so it's not the company's fault.
Okay.
No, sir.
Wait, okay. To tack on to Paul, here's my question. So you put an RFP out for this, right? So people bid this, is that correct?
This was design, bid, build, I believe.
Okay, so who's the engineer that engineered this?
Okay.
Because they have insurance.
Sure. But they were going off of previous
They
plans.
being the contractor.
Well, and the engineer to design this.
Okay, but
This had to be field verified to.
I'm just saying here, when I was out in the big boy world, Heapy Engineering always made sure that they had their insurance in line, because if an engineer or an architect makes a mistake, that's why they have to have insurance.
Right.
Because, so if this was an engineering thing where, yeah, I understand we opened this up and like, oh, look, we get to put 2 more feet here.
Right.
But, okay. I'm just having a problem because when you hire someone, and just give me a little rope with this, when you hire someone to do the engineering and architectural work to put out a bid, they're supposed to do their due diligence because we got to pay them to do that. And we paid someone to do that. I understand we pulled this up when no one could see that, but that means they should have cored or done something to say, this is the bottle of water that we're building.
Okay.
And now I want you 4 people to bid on how to build this bottle of water.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of money for an OPS. I mean, we got to do it because I like the title, the Lime Lagoon. That's awesome. So we got to get that fixed. But I don't know. It seems like someone made a mistake that we paid. But that's just my opinion.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? That was originally my question and comment as well. Have we done everything we can to negotiate this? Because have we done anything to negotiate the price?
Yeah, I mean, it was negotiated, but since it wasn't on the contractor, there's really.
Who was the engineer?
Oh, that's a good question.
And then how soon does this have to be done? Is this something that has to
We
be
can
done?
wait. We can wait another meeting if you.
I want to table this and follow up on this.
I'm pretty certain that line.
I have a problem.
I'm pretty certain that line's like 20 feet deep, so the only way to confirm it is to dig it up prior to designing it. But let me get some more information.
Yeah, if the drawings are our fault, then I get it.
Okay, but But we can wait another meeting if
Okay.
you got an issue with it, so.
Okay, that sounds good to check into this. Okay.
All
right, thank you very much, Mr. Tadich. Mr. Hemingway, is there any language that needs to be said to table?
Just motion to table.
Excellent.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Mr. West to table.
Yes.
Mr. Horn.
Yes to table.
Mayor Slamka.
Yes.
Mrs. Carter. Mr. Lawley.
Yes.
Yeses have it, and the motion passes. Mr. Hemingway, the next item, please.
Ordinance number 2025-35, an ordinance establishing the Cristo Townhomes Incentive Districts and declaring improvements to certain real property within each of the Cristo Townhomes Incentive Districts to be a public purpose and exempt from real property taxation, identifying certain public infrastructure improvements made, to be made, in the process of being made, or that once made will benefit or serve the parcels in each of the Cristo Townhomes Incentive Districts, requiring the owners of those parcels to make service payments in lieu of real property taxes, establishing a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of such service payments, and approving related matters. This is the first reading.
Thank you. Ms. Combs, the staff report, please.
The city has agreed to establish a tax increment financing district to fund necessary public infrastructure improvements. If the tax district is not established, the developer can terminate the agreement before the end of the due diligence period. This legislation establishes the required districts. The developer will then need to enter into a TIF agreement with the city outlining the use of the future TIF funds for the eligible public improvement expenses initially paid by the developer. The proposed legislation will not financially impact the city, as the developer will fund the upfront cost for the public improvements. Over time, the revenues from the tax increment financing districts will reimburse these expenses. A separate TIF agreement will be created and presented to the council for approval. Additionally, the developer has requested assistance from the Middletown Port Authority, which may lead to a final TIF agreement that includes the Port Authority as a party to secure a sales tax exemption for the project's public infrastructure costs.
Thank you. As this is a first reading, there is no action to be taken at this time. However, is there any discussion from council? Nope. All right, thank you. Hearing none, we will proceed. Mr. Hemingway, the next item, please.
Resolution number 2025-17, a resolution authorizing a transfer of funds subject to repayment from the general fund to the Made Industrial Park TIF Fund and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Ms. Combs, the staff report, please.
Sure. Council, this report relates to a request for a supplemental appropriation of $158,670 from the general fund to the Made Industrial Park TIF Fund. This is an advance for debt payments that will be repaid once the city receives repayment of the assessments.
Thank you. And is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Just one question. When do we see that happening, the repayment?
I'm not sure on timeline. I don't know that it will be in 2025, but this is for making all the payments that are due in 2025. So we'll work with the administrative team to effectuate those assessments promptly.
Okay, thank you. There no.
It takes at least into the first quarter. I know that's how it did in the past.
Okay, into the first quarter.
2026.
Got you. Thank you. All right. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we will continue. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mr. Horn.
Yes.
Mayor Slamka.
Yes.
Mr. Lawley.
Yes.
Mrs. Carter. Yes. Mr. West.
Yes.
Yeses have it. The motion passes. Mr. Hemingway, the final item, please.
Resolution number 2025-18, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Middletown, Counties of Butler and Warren, State of Ohio, for the period ending December 31, 2025, and declaring an emergency. This relates to the Made Industrial Park TIF Fund that we just spoke about.
Thank you. Ms. Combs or Mr. Hemingway, anything else to add? All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mayor Slamka.
Yes.
Mr. Lawley.
Yes.
Mrs. Carter. Yes. Mr. West.
Yes.
Mr. Horn.
Yes.
Thank you. The yeses have it, and the legislation passes. This concludes our legislation for the evening. The next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Do any council members have anything they would like to bring up under unfinished business? Mrs. Carter? Did you have something, Mr. West? No. Mrs. Carter?
I'd like to know what's happening with Douglas Park.
Can you turn your microphone on, please? Thank you.
The splash pad.
So it's been ordered. We're actually waiting on it to be delivered and be installed. I need to follow up with the contractor on the schedule. I just don't know it off the top of my head. The old one should be, if it's not on yet, it should be on soon. If it's not on, I'll check. I know it was a little cool here to start the summer with all the rain, but we'll make sure to get that going because I know it's supposed to get warm up this week. So, Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. Is there any other unfinished business this evening? Hearing none, we will proceed. The next item is new business. Do any council members have any new business they'd like to bring up this evening? No. The only thing it's kind of unfinished, but it's also kind of new, just wanting that timeline for the gravel. If we could definitely have that, the gravel moving. Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you. And that's it. Anything else? No? All right. So hearing none, that concludes new business. This concludes our regular city council meeting for Middletown, Ohio, Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025 at 8:05 p.m. this evening. The meeting is adjourned until Tuesday, June 17th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in these chambers for our next regular city council meeting. Thank you and good night.